Hey guys, Snoopy here. So in this video, I'm finally making my guide for Feral Druids in Shadowlands Season 1. I'm going to be showing the rotation in the end on these dummies. But before that, I'm going to go over talents, legendaries, covenants, soulbinds, and conduits. And also just going to be giving some like general tips and tricks on Feral, but also how to like improve in the game in WoW in general, in Arena. So that's the plan, and let's dive right into it. Okay, so starting off, we're going to talk about talents. So talent choice is, very important, as we all know. So getting the right ones is definitely key to winning in the arena. So starting off on the 15 row, I suggest going Sabertooth there pretty much always. The bite damage is nice, but also the small extension on the rip, even though it was nerfed from BFA, it's still quite nice to have that small extension on rip every time you bite. And it's pretty important for the opener, which I'm going to show later in the video. Lunar is decent. You could do a bleed build and go Lunar, but I did not suggest playing that right now with how the game is at the moment. On the 25 row, I will suggest Wild Charge here, pretty much always. Renewal, maybe sometimes, like, if you're dying very, very easily, it could be a decent choice, but the mobility from Wild Charge is insane. You can jump in, jump out, and it's just a very versatile spec, so definitely go Wild Charge mainly. On 30, here, the biggest two are Guardian Infinity and Rest Infinity. Guardian Infinity is actually super, super nice now because they added In-Cap Roar to Guardian, which is not DR with Clone, so you can In-Cap Roar into Clone. It's a small cooldown, and it's very helpful to live. But sometimes you want to definitely have Vortex, so you want to go Rest Infinity versus some things too. Especially things that maybe have many pets, and you want to Vortex the pets to get away. Or if you just want to have more heals for the whole team. On 35, we have Mighty Bash. They did add Heart of the Wild on this row, which is definitely not like a bad talent, but Bash, I found at least in most of my games, is the go-to. While Heart is such a long cooldown, it can be good. I say like if you're playing maybe like, this is not a good comp. If you play Subrogue Feral, for example, the Subrogues can do all the stuns, right? And you can do Heart. But with most popular comps with Feral Druid, I definitely suggest going Bash. Especially if you play like Jungle Cleave, Bash is very nice to set up traps with. On 40, we got Soul the Forest, Savage Roar, and Incarn. Savage Roar was buffed a little bit, but I don't really suggest going it. I haven't tried it too much, but Soul is just really, really strong. And, it's a passive, which is quite convenient too. While Incarn is decent now because you get the extra energy benefit, but Berserk on its own is very strong right now. So Incarn is not really the go-to pick either. So I just say go Soul the Forest on the 40 row. On 45, there's only really one interesting one here for PvP, and that's Brutal Slash. It's a very nice comp point generator, and yeah, that's pretty much what it does, right? Gives you fast comp points. So Brutal Slash on 45. Moving on to 50. This row is pretty interesting. Frenzy is still my go-to pick. It is definitely the best for, I'd say, like setup comps. Mainly, like if you want to cleave more, Blood Talons could be good, and you get more overall damage. But being able to like maim, Frenzy, bite, and then if you're playing Berserk, and then shred, bite again, you can do a lot more of a bursty go. But with BT, you can do insane bites, so definitely want to consider. Both are viable. While Moment, I would not really go ever. I've tried it, but yeah, no one really plays Moment in PvP, and I don't really suggest you do it either. But yeah, so Frenzy, my pick. But BT is still pretty good, and you can play it if you like it. Okay, so for Honor Talents, the one that I would never really change out here is Leader of the Pack. It's really strong, and just a nice baseline to have always. So definitely play that one pretty much in every game. Ferocious Wound is also one that I rarely change. It's quite nice. They did nerf it like a little bit from BFA, but it's still really good. And then we have Thorns, which you want to swap out, depending on if you're facing a melee team or a range team. So versus like melees, Thorns is very good. It can be like a pretty substantial amount of damage. But if you're facing like a caster melee or double caster, you probably don't want to be Thorns, and you can either go for like Savage Momentum versus casters is very good. Or versus a comp like Rogue Mage Priest, you might want to have Strength of the Wild for that extra bear form survivability. So that's pretty much it when it comes to our talents. They did add a new one called High Winds, which reduces the damage the enemy does after a clone. But it's like, it's better on paper than it is in the actual game, I think, because it's kind of clunky to get it off, and cloning someone's go is pretty hard to do. And if they trinket, it could be good to get the damage reduction, but the stars have to align a lot for it to get like good value out of it, I'd say. So yeah, those are talents, and now we're gonna move on to the legendaries. Okay, so starting off on legendaries, I'm just gonna say the one that I went with and the one that I suggest you going with. That is Eye of Fearful Symmetry. It is really good because you get more comp points on a go, and it is on the goes that you want your damage to happen, right? So more bites on goes on a 30-second cooldown is very, very good. So yeah, it gives 2 comp points the next 2 finisher moves, which allows for some pretty good combos, which I'm going to show later in the video in the rotation part. But yeah, so I suggest going Eye of Fearful Symmetry. There are other good options too. You could go like Cat Eye Curio, Draught of Deep Focus, even Apex, maybe in like some comps. But yeah, overall, I say Eye of Fearful Symmetry is a pretty clear winner to me, as it's very versatile, it's always strong, and you can just never go wrong with extra comp points. It's very consistent too, right? There's no RNG involved, so a really good legendary. Now, though, we're going to move on to the Covenants, which is more of an interesting topic. Okay, so for Covenants, I actually already made a full video talking about Covenants and like my opinion on all of them, but I'm going to summarize quickly now and to kind of get to the point. So, in my opinion, Night Fae and Kyrian are the 2 best ones right now. Night Fae is a bit more RNG, harder to like set up, but once you get value out of it, and with the proper setup, you can get insane value and pretty much kill someone in one convoke. While Soul Shape is also like very nice to kite with, or to even engage sometimes. Kyrian is super consistent, no RNG involved, 15% damage, or the Kindred Spirits or Kindred Empowerment, which is a bit different. I'll have it on the screen, which is also very consistent. So that's Kyrian's benefit, while the vial you get to drink is also very good. I'm going Night Fae right now. I think it's really fun. It kind of fits like the Druid theme, and it's definitely viable. So that is my pick at the moment. But again, I'm gonna have 3 Druids. So I'm gonna have 1 Kyrian and 2 Night Fae. For Necklord, it's pretty good, but not really like on the same line as Kyrian and Night Fae, but definitely not bad. And it could probably be like really, really good in like certain setups and certain builds, like a bleed build, for example. The only one that I would avoid is Venthyr. Venthyr, do not go, I would say. I mean, if you want to, of course, if you want to be like a vampire Feldred, you could, but I would definitely suggest against it. But yeah, so again, Night Fae is my pick. It's really good. I'm going to link to my full video on the Covenants in the description. There are some Druids play Night Fae, some play Kyrian, some probably play Necklord, but yeah. Video in the description for more details on the Covenants. Okay, so for the Soulbinds, it's kind of hard to say right now because we don't have the whole trees unlocked. On the beta, we did play with the whole tree unlocked, though, so I do have some experience with them all. If you're Night Fae, once we have the whole tree unlocked, I think Khura'in might be the best one. But Dreamweaver is quite good, too. The Paw Tender is pretty troll, but it actually ends up being kind of decent because sometimes the seed can rescue because you can shield the seed. It can be healed. While Nia is also quite decent. But yeah, right now, I'd say go Dreamweaver if you're playing with like below the full renown. Once you get the full renown, I think Khura'in might be the best one because first strike. And for Nia, not so much good on the last row. But yeah, to be honest, Soulbinds, I'm probably going to make a different video on this once we have the whole tree unlocked. And once my Kyrian Druid is max level and I've kind of tested everything. But yeah, for now, you can kind of swap around, test them, see what you like yourself. While we're leveling down the tree, though, like some of them will have more and better conduits you can use at a certain point, right? Like if you play right now with Dreamweaver, you can have endurance and potency. While if you play Nia, you can only have potency and finesse. While finesse usually do not have as much value as a potency or endurance. So yeah, more this topic, but for now, just go. I'd say Dreamweaver, but it does not really matter that much. And Nia, the mastery buff is quite good too. Okay, so now to conduits. So for conduits, starting off with potency, Three that I really like right now is Taste for Blood, Carnivore's Instinct, and Conflicts of Elements. Taste for Blood just increases your damage on your bite per bleed, scaling with the eye level of the conduit. While Carnivore's Instincts is just more damage bonus from Ties Free. While Conflicts gives you a pretty big more chunk of damage while you're doing Convoke Spirits. So if you're doing 2v2, I'd say, and it's like a bigger chance to get full Convokes off, having Conflicts can be really, really good and make your Convokes even more deadly. But overall, if you only have one Potency Conduit slot, I'd say go Taste for Blood right now. If you have two, and you feel like you're going to get full Convokes, go Conflicts and Taste for Blood. And if you feel like you want to be more on like a safe side and just be very consistent damage with no RNG, and you maybe not playing like a setup comp where you can really set it up, I'd say go Taste for Blood and Carnivore's Instinct. For Finesse, I feel like these don't really matter that much. There is one that I'm gonna put on the screen that reduces the cooldown of Bash a bit and Heart of the Wild. But yeah, Finesse Conduits are not very important, I think, from what I've seen. But I think that's like the best one that I've seen so far. So I'd say go that one. And for Endurance, right now, Well-Honed Instincts is probably the best one. It says that we can only use it in Guardian, or it says on the side, but you can use it in Feral right now. It is working for Feralgers. I don't know if that is intended or not. But that is working at the moment at least, so there's that. And another good one is Innate Resolve, which makes your regen and regrowths heal more on yourself. But then also Ursine Vigor is also quite good. So that's my opinions on the conduits for now. This might change a bit, and I'll update. By the way, guys, if you have any questions about this guide, you can come to my stream and ask me when I'm live, and I will happily answer anything. But yeah, so those are the conduits and my opinions on them at the moment. Now we're gonna move on to my rotation, and yeah, it's just some thoughts on like improving in Arena in general. So let's go. Okay, so quick note here while I'm editing, I forgot to add the stats. So quickly, I'm gonna state the stat priority. So right now, I'd say it's Vers-Mastery-Haste, then Crit. I cap the haste on around like 10%. You don't really need more than that. But Vers-Mastery, the biggest ones, and then Crit. In PP, it did get buffed a bit from 150% to 175% in PP. But I still suggest mainly going for Vers-Mastery, some haste, and some crit is not bad either. So that's my opinion of that. And now on to the rotation and opener. Alright, so moving on to the rotation part of this guide. Starting off, though, I gotta say that like your rotation does depend a bit, or your opener especially depends a bit on your Covenant and your Legendary. One pretty key thing is to have Fearful Symmetry for the extra comm points. And if you have Kyrian, you can just use Empowered Thing, or whatever it's called. Empowered Spirits, Lone Empowerment on the go or the opener. And if you play Knife A, Convoke can be its own go, pretty much, like a main Convoke. So, key abilities on the Ghosts and Openers are Frenzy, Bite, Maim, Fury, Convoke, or Lone Empowerment, and Berserk. Those are really, really important. So on the opener now, I'm going to show. One thing you don't really want to do when you have this one is to... you don't want to use Fury and then Rip. You want to Rip and then use Fury. This is because you want to get the comm points going after the bite, so you can do many bites in a row. So something like this. You want to go Rake, Rip, Berserk, and Fury, Frenzy, Bite, and you can Meltstone, Rake, and then Bite again. And then get 5 combos and Bite again. If you want to as well, you can not shred and just do 4 compound bites instead, which is also quite good. I think it depends a bit. Like, if you know you have to kill in that stun, you can just do 4 compound bites. While if you have, like, a class where he can't really get away instantly, you can do shred in between. The shred does a lot of damage, too, when you're berserking. Both of those things are pretty viable to do. Yeah, if you Rake stun after the first, so I'll show, or I'll say it now. It's Rake, Rip, and then Fury, Berserk, and then Frenzy, and then Bite. You'll be on 4 comm points, and the first Rake is about to fall off, and that's when you want to meld the Rake stun again, and then you can get Bite again, and then you can do a 4 comm bite, or do a Shred and then 5 comm bites. Both are like pretty good, and it's kind of situational. If you want to go back and see, you can see on the down right here, you can see the rotation more slowly, but that's pretty much like what the opener that I usually do. And I'm going to talk about like the go, or the time building up to the go. Okay, so you've done your opener, you hopefully forced some cooldowns, and now it's time to do the next go. In between the goes, by the way, you just want to maintain bleeds. Kite if you have to. You know, your enemy will be trying to kill you as well, so you might have to use some defensives. Try pre-bear stunts and things like this, but in general, you just want to maintain bleeds until the next go, and do what you can to live. By the way, if you play Guardian, having Incap Roar is a very nice thing to get away with. You can Incap Roar into Clone. I don't know if these can be CC'd, but this, they can. Into full clone, it breaks except bleed, but full clone him, which is immune because it's a dummy. But you get the idea, right? So basically, yeah, have full bleeds up. Let's say now you don't have Berserk, so you use Berserk in the opener. So like a decent go you can do without Berserk is just going Maim, Fury, Frenzy, and then Bite, and then a Shred, slash whatever, get 5 comp points, and Bite again. That go, it's not like that deadly, but that's kind of like the go you do when you don't have cooldowns. But in 3s, or if you have a healer with you, you can still probably score a kill if the enemy has no cooldowns. If you don't have a Trinket and you play Night Fade, that's when Convoke can be a very, very nice thing. So if the enemy doesn't have Trinket in 2s, it's easier to kind of get the value out of Convoke. But even in 3s, you can do quite a bit. If you watch the games that I showed earlier today, or earlier in the video, you can see that I got value out of Convoke too in 3s on like pretty good MMR. But yeah, so basically, let's say the enemy does not have Trinket. This is the healer. This is the guy you want to kill. You can just see the healer, maim the DPS, Convoke him, and that will do a lot of damage. If you have full bleeds on target and like the less targets that are around, you're more guaranteed to get bites on the isolated target. So that's what you want to try to do. Have full bleeds rolling, get him in a bad spot, and just Convoke. So that's pretty much it. I can show again on like a normal go when you actually have Berserk though. So let's say you're kind of late in the game. Berserk's back off cooldown. You don't have to Berserk the opener either, but it's kind of nice to do right now because like the game is kind of fast. So we get it out, force cooldowns early on, and get ahead in the game. But yeah, let's say that Berserk is back now, and you have full bleeds going. There are like a few things you can do. You can bash for the go, but I still kind of suggest maiming for the go. So you can go like this. Free Berserk, and then just maim, and then Shred, Bite, Shred, and then Bite again. Again, you can just bite here if you want to, and do 4 comp bites. It's pretty good to do too, but it does depend a bit on if the target can get away. And just keep Shred biting. And then you can Fury 2 once you used your 2 Fearful Symmetry procs, and then bite again. So these kind of goes are really good because you get many bites in a short amount of time, which will be hard for the enemy to deal with. And it will either force cooldowns, usually, or maybe even score the kill quite early on. It depends a bit on like 2s and 3s, of course, how this will turn out. But the general idea is that you want to get many bites in when they're stunned. But sometimes too, you know, like Berserk will last longer than a stun, so you can keep biting a lot after the stuns as well. But yeah, so that's like the basic rotation of Feral Druid in PP right now. I'm just gonna like give some general tips now on Arena and kind of my thoughts on how to improve. Alright, so now moving on to like some closing thoughts and some general tips for Feral Druids. As we all know, we are a very squishy spec, so it is quite important to remember that you have very good mobility. Your mobility can be your best defensive. You can get away before the trouble even starts, which is huge, of course. Or you can pre-burst on too. For example, if a rogue is like moving towards you, he's probably going to kidney shot you if kidney's off cooldown. So having an add-on like Omnibar can help a lot with that. But yeah, pre-bearing a stun can be huge too. Now by playing Guardian in Shadowlands, they added Incap Roar. This one right here, which is very good too, like this one. And you can Incap Roar into clones. It will break on bleeds, so keep that in mind. That is very handy as well. But yeah, just remember you have high mobility and you can get away. But at some point, of course, you will get stunned. You will take big damage. And we do have a skin now, so you can skin while you're stunned. But also, sometimes getting a pre-roll off, like on a stun, can also be the thing that can win you a game. But yeah, so main tip is just to keep those things in mind. Hopefully this guide helped a bit on like rotation talents and all that stuff. But mainly just try to play a lot of games. try watch Druid streamers. You know, there are many good Fralgers on Twitch, and see what they do. Try pick up on things, play a lot of games, put in the time, and try to have like a good mindset, and you will improve, and you will get high rated, I believe. But now onto the final point of the video is cloning. I see a lot of Druids will clone way too much. As we know, like right now we have clone baseline, so it's just always there. And I have like a general rule of thumb on this. I ask quite a bit in my stream, like when should you clone? And the general rule of thumb is like clone, you want the clone to do something, right? You want to make the clone either create pressure, alleviate pressure from your team so you can live, or maybe bait kicks or bait cooldowns. If the clone is not doing one of these things or has like some purpose behind it, you're probably like over cloning, and there's no point in cloning. You're just like your bleeds will fall off, and there's just no point to it. So you just try to, every time you clone, try make the clone do one of those things. Because yeah, some Fralgers kind of spam clone a lot, and their bleeds fall off, their pressure fades, and nothing just happens in the game. But yeah, that's kind of my tips overall. Again, if you want to ask any questions to me, come to my stream or my Discord channel below, or even on Twitter, you can ask me too. It's all under the video here for all questions. I'll see you guys soon. Thanks for watching the video. Leave a like if you enjoyed it, and I'll catch you guys on my stream.